We're back.
We are.
We're back again. It is Sunday night. This is podcast number
9.
Number 9 at Wall Street Breakdown. We do not take a week off.
No,
we've taken a couple of days off here.
Yes, we have.
There hasn't been a whole lot of news.
No.
I could have came out on Friday with the same video I did the previous Friday about
the Dow Jones, right?
Yeah, Dow Jones and S&P hit all-time highs again to close going into the weekend, which is nice.
Oh yeah,
you gotta love all-time highs, right?
Oh yeah, everybody
that's in the market's gotta love that. It's not what Bitcoin's doing.
Of course not. No.
We're gonna get to that. Bitcoin this weekend has again been pushing numbers. They're not the only cryptocurrency pushing numbers. We're gonna get to that. That's gonna be near the end of the podcast. So stay tuned for all your cryptocurrency news. It's a small little tidbit. We're not gonna give a whole lot this week. There's not a whole lot to cover as far as the cryptocurrency stuff goes. We've got some other stuff that did happen this week, but it was kind of a slow week.
Definitely was, yeah.
There was actually a lot of news out of Canada this week.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Surprisingly, Canada is staying really busy. I mean, with all the tax reform stuff that's going on down in the United States, we didn't really seem to have a whole lot of other news. It seemed like the tax reform and then the Fed getting together and raising rates, it seemed like that really kind of took over the news for the entire week. We didn't have, there wasn't a lot of major earnings or anything. And I just want to say this tax reform, the tax reform bill that was passed, it changed a lot of stuff out there. So we're going to do a video tomorrow being Monday. And I'm going to give a nice big rundown of how this tax reform bill changed a whole lot of the tax brackets, what it means for you as an individual, what it means for businesses, how it means for everything from child tax credits to if you're sending money from international importing goods. It doesn't matter. We're going to cover all of that, but I'm going to cover that in one big video as opposed to covering here in the podcast. So that's going to be tomorrow. But before we get started, let's knock out a little bit of the formalities. I'm Cody from Wall Street Breakdown.
I'm Anthony from Wall Street Breakdown.
It's good to be back.
Of course. It's always good to be back.
It's always good. It means we lived. we lived, and this is, this isn't just some recordings of me all pasted together. This is actually me alive.
Alive and well.
Yeah. Was it a good week? Did you have a good week?
I had an awesome week. How about you?
It was excellent. I had my kid's birthday today.
Oh, yeah, that's right. How'd that go?
It was good. It was good. I say kids because I have 2 kids.
Yes.
I don't just pluralize anything.
No,
I have 2 kids are twins. They got the same birthday, so we did that. I built some Lego. It was very relaxing. We're getting ready for Christmas.
Christmas is right around the corner.
It doesn't feel like Christmas outside.
No, especially not here. We have no snow.
I'm telling you, right?
It's crazy.
When we grew up, it was
Canada, no snow.
There was 9 feet of snow when I was growing up.
That's what I can remember.
Uphill both ways.
Oh, for sure.
No shoes. Yeah. Toughing it out. These kids nowadays, they don't know what tough is.
Walking around in shorts.
They don't know what tough is.
I have no idea.
So I'm gonna let you lead because you're the host. You do a better job hosting.
Thank you.
You got a face for radio. We're gonna let you knock this out of the park. So by all means, lead me by the hand, sir.
All right, let's look at the news that happened on Monday the 11th. Ottawa came out and how they're starting to how they split the legalization taxes for marijuana.
Yeah, so I guess this is kind of big news. It doesn't really affect the marketplace as much as it's more of a government thing. But there's a lot of provinces out there that actually could use a little bit of a kickback. So while the federal government came out, they said the provinces and territories are going to get 75% of the share of tax revenue from the sale of legalized marijuana when it does end up going through sometime here in the summer. It's a 2-year agreement only, so that's definitely probably going to change in the future as things start to build up a lot more. Because Ottawa's not really estimating a whole lot of money being made up front. And when I say not a whole lot of money, I mean it's not as much as what probably will be down the road once all the wheels are churning. They're estimating about $400 million a year in tax revenue. And I mean, when you consider that split amongst the provinces and territories, 75% of that split everywhere. It's not going to be a whole lot.
I guess not, no.
So Ottawa's going to retain 25%, and that's only up to $100 million for this 2-year agreement.
Okay.
So they're not going to, even if it crushes estimates and makes into the billions of dollars.
They still just get that.
They're going to get the $100 million only, and then the surplus is going to go to the provinces and territories. They want to make sure that the provinces and territories are getting enough money for, like municipal law enforcement. There's going to be probably some issues with some more inebriated drivers out there.
Oh, for sure.
People are going to get a little more liberal with it once you can start buying wherever you're going to be able to buy, whether it's at 7-Eleven or I'm not entirely sure what if it's going to be at liquor stores or how it's going to end up working. I don't know if they're going to sell it at 7-Eleven. It's going to end up making 7-Eleven smell, I would imagine.
You would imagine so, yeah.
So that's basically what it's going to be. The government set aside about $1 billion for any kind of issues that they're going to come up with on the federal level every year. For I think the next 5 years, they've set aside $1 billion. But as of right now, this is pretty loose, right? Like this is a 2-year agreement. We're just kind of getting off Jump Street here with this. So they're estimating 400 million. Provinces and territories get 75%. That's going to have to be something that we see play out in the long run. And again, this isn't really going to affect a lot of the medical marijuana licenses out there and those companies, because from what we've been hearing is the federal government's going to price the marijuana. I don't know what kind of selection or however this is going to work, but they're going to price it around $10 a gram. Okay. Whereas, I mean, if you're looking into medical marijuana, it's closer to $6 a gram, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it does end up being a little bit different. But again, you're going to have to go and get yourself a prescription and go to a doctor or however the process works. Yeah. That affects the actual companies a lot more. The companies out there that we see in the medical marijuana industry.
Like Candymed,
Canopy, Aurora, all these companies that we seem to be talking about all the time, where people are actually speculating on price. As far as I'm concerned, speculating on price, because we just don't know how it's all going to play out. But this is the federal government, straight talking tax revenue. But some of the provinces, Alberta running a serious deficit where we're from. Ontario was supposed to, they said, the Liberal government said, and I believe it was in March, that they were going to be able to balance the budget. And then they came out this past week and said that it's probably going to be able to $4 billion deficit there. So really good job balancing the budget.
For sure.
Not entirely sure what kind of balancing they're doing. Listen, we don't want to get the Liberal government in Ontario any kind of tightrope walking because they're going to be falling. I don't think they understand what balance means.
No, I don't think so.
So yeah, some of these provinces definitely could use whatever kickback they could get. It's a start.
Oh, yeah.
It's a start.
It is.
It's a start, right?
Definitely.
I mean, we're going to legalize it anyways. It's a start. I would imagine it's going to drive quite a bit of tourism.
Oh, for sure.
To a lot of the major hubs. Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal are probably going to get even more tourism now from the same type of people that might take a detour while traveling Europe over to Amsterdam or something. It's going to end up drawing a little bit more of a crowd, especially people that maybe are on the border, right? If you're on the border of Southern Ontario,
that's right.
You can skeet across now over into Toronto. If you're on the border of British Columbia, if you're in Seattle or whatever, you can ski. Even though I'm pretty sure it's actually legalized in the state of Washington too. So
I think so.
Maybe they're all just going to get together and just chief a big one back. I don't know. Who knows? If anybody, who knows how that's going to work out.
Let's talk about this Apple buzz, Shazam.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one, to be honest with you. So Shazam is a music recognition software company. I'm sure a lot of people have it on their phone. They basically just let you know when you're hearing a song on the radio, or if your buddy's playing a song on his phone or something. It just picks up the lyrics. It picks up the music, the beat, whatever, and it ends up telling you what the song is, what artist that song's from, the album, where you can purchase it so that you can get it. So now this is going to be Apple proprietary stuff.
Right.
It's going to end up being an iTunes thing. They paid $400 million for it, which is kind of cheap, but I'm not entirely sure. Like Shazam, apparently through their last round of funding was valued at about $1 billion. But I mean, $1 billion for a music recognition software company sounds like a pretty high valuation to me.
It does.
I'm not Apple. Clearly, Apple didn't pay near that much for it.
No, not at all.
I'm sure they could have went out and actually done this on their own and created this kind of software themselves.
Yeah.
But for $400 million, maybe go out and get the best company that already does this.
It was just easier for them to do it.
Integrate it into iTunes, and now it's just a part of iTunes, and it's going to make basically you getting your stuff off of iTunes a lot easier, right? So now they're going to obviously shuttle you right to iTunes. There's not going to be options, like I'm sure there probably is with Shazam now.
Right, it'll just be like buy from the app or iTunes store.
It's going to go right to iTunes, right? So the shareholders of Apple, there was no other news for Apple this week, but shareholders and the market in and of itself, much like that, Apple closed the week at $173.97, up about $4 on the week. So they must have liked it. Apple doesn't spread themselves out into too much stuff. They know what they're doing. Phones, watches, this Apple HomePod that's going to be coming out here pretty quickly. This is just going to add into the integration of that. And I'm sure the HomePod's going to have some integration with that. So if you've got the radio turned on, you're going to be able to have your HomePod pick it up. Even if you don't own an Apple phone, the HomePod will probably be able to understand the song.
They'll probably do that,
and then you'll probably be able to download it from iTunes right to whatever type of storage device is on the actual HomePod without having to have an Apple device like a handheld smartphone. Because, I mean, I know personally I own a Samsung, but if you were to buy a smart speaker for your home, you're not probably going to be buying any Samsung product because there's no Samsung product out there, right? No. So you're talking about Google, you're talking about Amazon, or you're talking about Apple. So now Apple's got that as a little bit more leverage as well because Google obviously not selling the kind of music that Apple is. Neither is Amazon, not near to the extent that the iTunes store is. So it adds a little bit of extra cachet to what the iTunes store can do. Just in-house proprietary stuff, which will make, I guess, searching for music a little bit easier.
A lot easier.
Yeah, a lot easier, right? So good for people who are looking to try to figure out who's singing that song.
Yeah, that catchy tune that's stuck in your head you can't figure out.
It's mariachi music.
Of course it is.
We covered that. I don't want to break any hearts out there, but it's me singing the song. Yeah, I've got the voice of an angel.
Well, we had this interesting story about GNC on the verge of collapse.
Yeah, it got a lot of views. I mean, GNC is having a rough time operating. There's a little bit of good news, actually, that came out of this as the week kind of unfolded. GNC closed the week at $4.87. They were almost $13 a share a year ago. They're having a tough time. I mean, they've got a lot of debt due. There's a lot of debt due in 2018. Then there's a significant amount of debt due in March of 2019. GNC sells a lot of overpriced protein powder. It costs a lot of money to run brick and mortar. They've brought in Goldman Sachs to try to help them reorganize the debt. They've been looking for investors. They were going to sell some senior notes. That got put on the shelf there early in December. One thing that did come out, though, is their Pro Access membership, which is the GNC card. Remember the GNC card?
Oh, like Gold card or whatever.
Yeah. Their Pro Access membership, which is what it's called now, only had 78,000 members in quarter one to end quarter one. But it's got 585,000 to end quarter three. So that went up a significant amount, right? So that's, but I don't know if that's not necessarily, they're just giving cards to people who come in and make a purchase.
Yeah, you buy so much, you get a card.
You just get the card, exactly, right? So I don't know how that actually ends up breaking down. If this is people going in and wanting to be a part of GNC and saying like, yeah, no, I plan on coming back and shopping here consistently. I'll give you $20 or $15 or whatever it is for this Pro Access membership because I expect to come back. I want to get discounts on products in the future. I don't know how that's actually going to play out. If it's more just, hey, you spent $80 on a jug of protein that really should have cost you $40. And you know, here's this Pro Access card, and we can just add that into the statistics to try to buff up something. Because the rest of everything looks like a gong show.
Oh, it does.
So GNC they're struggling. They need to find investors. They're not going to be able to turn this around. I can assure you of that just on sales alone. So like, it's going to have to be somebody with money comes in. They're going to have to figure it out because the debt that's on the table is significant and it's enough to bring this company down. And it's been around for a long time, but they can't refinance it. Nobody wants to take it on because they just don't see GNC as profitable. So they're hoping on Goldman Sachs being able to figure this out and maybe find some people that can come in and do some investing into GNC because otherwise they're going to, I don't know, man, they're going to have to sell to an activist investor, go private. They're going to have to restructure this company something significant. And brick and mortar is already having a tough enough time. Prices to be in brick and mortar don't get any cheaper.
No.
The options for what you can buy from GNC, if you look Amazon, anywhere else, are a lot cheaper. I mean, when you just consider like you go to Walmart, you go to GNC and you take a look at like a high-end brand like Muscle Tech.
Right.
High-end brand, expensive stuff, right? $70, $80 for a tub of protein, $65, $60 for creatine monohydrate.
Yeah.
If you go to Walmart's 6-star brand is made by Muscle Tech. It's the exact same stuff, 100%.
Yeah.
So like you're paying half the price. You're getting the exact same quality out of basically the same batch from the same company without the Muscle Tech logos all over it.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's like buying generic drugs at this point. There's
definitely is,
cheap enough protein out there. Nobody's making any kind of
special.
There's no world-renowned discoveries in protein.
Or creatine.
It is what it is at this point. So you're going to have to sell a lot of test boosters to make up those margins. And
test boosters are expensive.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. GNC, I wouldn't put my money in it. That's something I would try to venture away from as much as possible. And I think by the amount of people that looked at our video that we did on this specifically, and the likes to dislikes, which there were no dislikes, I think there's a lot of previous GNC clients, customers, people that even work there that probably feel the same way, that it's a bit of an overpriced racket.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that brand hasn't been so tarnished that without changing the actual name and, I mean, going in a whole different direction to really rebrand it entirely, it's going to fix it. So I mean, not an investment. Don't look at it and see that price and realize that it was $13 last year and think that you're going to get into it and it's going to be a mover and a shaker. It's don't catch the falling knife is what they say. That's the slogan. Don't catch this one.
That's a falling knife.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's a falling samurai sword.
All right, well, that wraps up the news for Monday the 11th. We'll move on to Tuesday the 12th. We've got Costco sells Movie Pass.
Yeah, Costco made a deal to sell Movie Pass. It's only till tomorrow. But what they're doing is they've put together Movie Pass, which is the Helios and Matheson, the subscription service to go to the cinema, and then Fandor, which is like an indie movie streaming platform, right? So you get access to Fandor and you get Movie Pass for $89.99. Now, it's only good till the 18th of December. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and it's not Monday, the 18th of December, if you're listening to this later next week, it's over. It's over already, right? So this was a 1-week promotion. I think a lot of people that probably bought Movie Pass at $89.99 probably weren't that happy, because now you can go ahead.
Yeah, probably not.
Now you can go ahead and get Fandor on top of that for the same price. But that's not the worst of the news for Helios and Matheson. Again, don't catch this one either. Maxim Group has their price target for Helios and Matheson around $25. That's not working out very well at the moment. Helios and Matheson closed the week at $6.26. These guys were $30, around $30.
They were,
2 months ago. It was down 6.57% on Friday. And that's because they offered a secondary offering of shares. There's a secondary price offering going on at $6.50 a share. So a lot less than what it was. So it's driving the price down. Anybody who's thinking that it's going to go to $25 is ridiculous. They're trying to raise money. They're trying to stay in business. So while the subscription numbers are
going up,
they're going up exponentially, right? They've been killing it subscription number wise. They are not doing anything remarkable in the actual earnings department, and with the cinemas the way they are. I mean, Star Wars is doing great right now.
For sure they are.
Yeah, making the big dollars this weekend. But Helios and Matheson are not. That's not the answer. Again, this is just like the GNC one. I'm tired of talking about Helios and Matheson, but I mean, it's so interesting to watch stuff move around so much. And they're in so many big markets, it seems like, but their toe in the pool is so small, but they seem to get into it. I mean, they're in Costco here now, for another day at least. They're in with all these cinemas, so I mean, they're attached to all these big box office numbers that come out for movies that are making money. These holiday movies, you have the opportunity to get a discount to go see this stuff. But I mean, we've seen the cinemas choose to not work with them. We saw Cinemark last week come out with their own movie subscription thing.
Movie Club or something.
Yeah, Movie Club, exactly, right? So, and I mean, getting it right from the cinema that can offer you the discounts is a lot better than a company that's, like basically been told by these cinema companies that they're not really going to be sharing profits with them anyways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're grasping at straws trying to find some money to keep this thing afloat. Yeah, so Maxim Group at a $25 price target looks fairly laughable at this point. $6.26 to end the week. Ouch.
Ouch is right.
Ouch.
We have a story about Advanced Auto Parts and Interstate Batteries do a partnership.
Yeah, it's nice when when big companies get together, Advanced Auto Parts, obviously one of the big auto parts retailers out there, they've reached a strategic partnership with Interstate Batteries, which are the leading replacement battery brand. They got the largest distribution system in all of North America. They're going to be the exclusive battery brand now to Advanced. So that's starting in the spring of 2018. So it's going to be in-store sales, online, delivery. So they're basically going to be working hat in hand with Advanced Auto Parts. On the news, they were up to $103.03 Advanced, not Interstate Batteries, which is private. But now Advanced pulled back to close the week at $100.70. But for people who shop there, it gives you the opportunity to now get basically the best brand name and replacement batteries at Advanced Auto Parts. And that's the partnership. There's not going to be anybody else that's going to be, you're not going to be buying a second-rate battery. They're going to be offering the best battery, the battery that basically the industry has established as the #1 brand out there without question. So, I mean, that's when you're trying to compete on every level, the best thing to do is to try to partner up. So a good strategic partnership, as far as I'm concerned, with Advanced Auto Parts and Interstate Batteries. There's not a whole lot more you could say about it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who shop there are going to be happy to have the option to get the best stuff. But other than that, it was a small piece of news in a week that was filled with not a lot of news.
Not a lot of news.
Not a lot of news. But hey, everybody likes a good replacement battery.
For sure.
I got a car that's getting a little older. It's going to need a battery. There's no Advanced Auto Parts up here, but I would imagine I'll probably end up purchasing an Interstate battery once it's time for...
why not get the best of the best?
Yeah. Why go to Canadian Tire or get a brand that's average,
right,
when you could get one that have been proven that they're the best, they're the absolute #1, right? So Interstate Batteries, Advanced Auto Parts team up. I'm sure a lot of people like that coming in spring of 2018.
Well,
if you're somebody who's constantly fixing cars, working on cars, if you're mechanics or whatever, you know, like it makes it so there's a lot less shopping. You just don't have to go around and go to this place to get this. You know, maybe Advanced carries parts you need specifically that really fit into what you're trying to do. But then you maybe have to go somewhere else to get Interstate Battery if you really want to get that best stuff now. Best stuff in-house. Nothing wrong with that.
I can't beat that. No.
Can't beat that.
So let's talk a little bit about the Nintendo Switch. Sells 10 million units.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the story. They sold 10 million units from when the launch was until... I believe that number was till the end of October. Sales growth for Nintendo year over year was up 175%. But again, you go back and think about this. Nintendo they didn't have anything really big last year. So there's nothing really driving sales growth from last year to this year. This year they released, they had the SNES Classic, they've got the Switch. So they've had some stuff that's been driving some sales growth. Switch is doing really good. 10 million units. They're projecting it to be 14 million units by the time the full year of it being released is up.
Right, okay.
It's had great reviews. Sold out. I mean, we were looking for it when it first came out. It was sold out all over the place. I've heard nothing but good things, good games apparently on it. And, I mean, we know Nintendo. They don't release something until they're really sure that it's good. We know Nintendo's actually starting to spread out their licensing a little bit as well. We've seen them, they're getting into the movie business again.
With Universal?
With Universal doing an animated Super Mario Brothers movie, right? It was the first time they're really going to be doing any licensing in the film department.
Since like 93 or 92, 93?
Since that Super Mario Brothers movie with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo that was not very, and Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper.
King Koopa, not very good. And then we heard earlier this week they've also signed a licensing deal with Build-A-Bear.
That's right.
Yeah, so Build-A-Bear is you're gonna be able to go in and build yourself a Mario or a Zelda or a Yoshi, which is cool. I mean, the Nintendo brand is difficult to find as far as licensing goes, as far as licensed products. I mean, we used to own a toy store. We had a lot of people come in and ask specifically for Super Mario or Zelda, and it's like, you know, to be honest with you, other than like some partnerships they've had with McDonald's or whatever over the years, there is not a lot of that stuff out there. Nintendo really likes to keep that under lock and key. They've built some seriously good trademarks or whatever you want to call it. Why would you allow other companies to kind of, you know, muddle in your stuff when you've worked really hard on it? But they seem to actually be, I don't know if it's a new strategic idea for them, the way they're going about this, or if they're just deciding to let kind of caution go to the wind again and maybe see what just is going to end up playing out.
Maybe they're just testing the waters a bit.
Yeah, I would imagine it. I mean, when you talk an animated film with a really big studio and then just a Build-A-Bear, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough for the Build-A-Bear thing to go wrong.
No, it's very true.
Really difficult. Build-A-Bear, big company, knows what they're doing in regards to, stuffed animals. Really tough for that to go wrong, I would imagine. Unless they just explode, unless these are just packed with C4, which I don't really foresee that happening. Potentially.
Potentially. It could happen.
Maybe the same guys that made that Bob Hoskins movie, they're going to be in there screwing this up too. But and the movie is again with a studio that knows what they're doing. So I can imagine that Nintendo is probably just kind of seeing what the market's like before they maybe take a bigger step and try to license some of this stuff on a much bigger scale, because these are definitely properties that everybody in the world knows.
Oh, I've always wanted to see like a Zelda movie.
Yeah, live action Zelda or Metroid.
Oh, Metroid.
Those would be those would be excellent, right? But I would imagine Nintendo wants to take it easy at this point, and this definitely seems like the easiest way to take it. So yeah, Nintendo's Switch doing good, 10 million, sales growth up 175%. Switch expected to sell another 4 million before the year rolls over for how long since it's been released, which I think was March. And yeah, I mean, everything seems to be going good. Build-A-Bear, little partnership there, so you can get a little stuffed animal Zelda.
Right on.
Yeah, right on.
We have that Federal Reserve raises its rate to 1.5%.
Yeah. So not only was this this is the last meeting that Janet Yellen as the Fed chair, right? Janet Yellen going into retirement. But yeah, they raised it from 1.25% to 1.5%. They're expecting this is the forecast. Now, this is not for sure, but this is the forecast. 3 interest rate hikes for 2018. Now, we don't know when those interest rate hikes are going to take place. Obviously, it's really sticky as far as the economy goes, as far as jobs go. I mean, if things take a turn, then it's probably not going to be 3. But right now, what they're forecasting, and again, these are a bunch of economists. Economists tend to be wrong a lot of the time. And she actually mentioned that when she was talking about the stock market. She said she didn't feel that the stock market was over. This is Janet Yellen talking. Didn't feel that the stock market was overvalued. She said there was no problem with financial or economic stability as far as the Fed could see. But she also did make a little caveat and say economists are wrong about this a lot of the time. They see things a certain way, but trends don't always just fall in line with whatever you want them to be. Yeah. A trend is only a trend until something changes, and then all of a sudden it's because if everything was a trend, it would be very easy to invest.
For sure, yeah.
You'd just be able to follow the trend line, right? And while that's great when you're trying to prove a point, you can make a trend line, fit into a 3-month, 4-month, 8-month window.
Yeah.
But sometimes you add that one extra month on the back end or take 1 month away, and your trend line actually doesn't match up at all.
No.
So she made a mention of that. They're looking for inflation to pick up. I believe inflation is a little on the low end, is 1.7 right now. It was 1.8 the month before. They're looking to get it to around 2. Inflation's a little bit low as far as the Fed would like it to be, especially with the growth in the economy. GDP for 2018, though, because the economy's rolling so well and because of this tax reform, they expect GDP to go up quite a bit. Their original forecast was 2.1%. They've got it for 2.4% now, so that's a significant bump in GDP. And in her last meeting, Janet Yellen's done a heck of a job as a Fed chair for a long time over at the central bank. Janet Yellen did make mention finally of Bitcoin. This was the first time the central banks ever made mention of this. And she said it's not a stable store of value. She said it's highly speculative and monitoring banks dealing in Bitcoin in relation to any kind of money laundering. Like, they want to know if you're a bank out there that's chosen to take on any kind of Bitcoin, deal in Bitcoin futures, if you're somebody that's taking in money from people that are trading in Bitcoin, you got to expect the tax man's coming.
Yes.
They're watching these banks. So the central bank is not naive. They know this is going on. The tax man knows this is going on. You got to imagine that if you think you're going to be able to curtail the system at all because you're in some sort of cryptocurrency, that's not going to be happening, and they're going to be looking. Yeah. They're watching now. So, and they were watching before. Just on her way out, she made mention that, oh, by the way, we're watching. So, so there you have it. Yeah, central bank raises the rates 1.25% up to 1.5%. GDP growth for 2018 expected to go up to 2.4%. And they're expecting 3 rate hikes next year as of right now. If all stays in line with what's going on, then you could see 3 rate hikes potentially in the forecast. But that's if everything is exactly on point as to what they're forecasting. And forecasts could change
Definitely.
Change like the weather. It's like a weather forecast. Like a weather forecast.
Well, that wraps up the news for Tuesday the 12th. Moving on to Wednesday the 13th. Let's talk about a Disney that buys 20th Century Fox for $60 billion. Was it $60 billion?
No. It ended up actually, the report initially when we did this deal, or when we did this video on the deal, was the day before the deal actually was confirmed. We knew it happened. We knew for sure that this was going down. It ended up being $52.7 billion.
That's right.
So it was a little closer to the middle ground. We were saying that the range was about $40 billion to $60 billion.
Yeah.
A little closer to that middle ground. I found it a little weird that Disney might have paid that top end number, but you kind of have to do what you have to do. You're getting into streaming. You need as much of these assets under management as you possibly can. Fox has a lot of stuff.
Tons.
And they help bring in a lot of that intellectual property of Marvel that Disney didn't already have.
Yeah.
Disney's underperformed the market the last couple of years. They're not up near as much as the S&P. The S&P's up 19-20% on the year. But Disney was up on this news. Disney closed the day on the day before the deal at 107.61. They closed the week at 111.27. So they $4 jump roughly from the morning that the deal was pretty much presumed to be good to go on Wednesday morning to Friday afternoon. So pretty good jump, $4 jump, which really helps. They were up only 3% on the year going into that day. So, I mean, this definitely helps push that number up a little bit. Disney doing a lot better. Star Wars this weekend doing great. It made $45 million domestically, which is the second most ever on the Thursday previews. On the actual just sneak preview viewings on Thursday there. They're on track for around $200 million. We'll know sometime later tonight here. This is Sunday night, so we'll know a little later. But they're on track for $200 million, which would be the fourth most ever domestically on an opening weekend. So that's big numbers there. They're on pace for another $225 million internationally. So we're talking somewhere $425 million in the opening weekend. Big money. Big money. Some serious people die in that movie.
Oh, that's what I heard.
There's I know some people who've seen it already. My buddy had to go at like 8:30 this morning to go actually get it. They opened up some new time slots. Yeah. It was early in the morning. I saw him and I was like, what are you doing up so early on a Sunday? I'm going to Star Wars. He was like just waking up, rubbing his eyes and stuff. But I mean, it's Star Wars, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Even I want to go see it now. Yeah, I don't see any movies, so I want to go see it. But that's some big people die in this movie, it sounds like. We're not, no spoilers here.
Spoilers,
I've had it spoiled already, so I'm not gonna spoil it. But yeah, the Disney Fox deal brings in some serious assets. So X-Men, Fantastic Four, Deadpool, Avatar, the National Geographic Channel. They've got a controlling stake in Hulu now, so Disney basically owns Hulu. Like they don't own the whole thing, but they own enough that they control it. They got a stake in Sky Networks over in Europe. They bring in the libraries, the video libraries from 20th Century Fox, Fox Searchlight, Fox 2000, the TV studios from 20th Century Fox again, from FX, from Fox 21. And I think the biggest news, the news we covered leading up to this, was CEO Bob Iger staying on. He's staying on till 2021. He's on. They brought in Rupert Murdoch's son that was running Fox. He's on now on board as well over in Disney.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, and the Murdochs, I mean, they know how to run broadcasting, publishing companies like you wouldn't believe. So that brings in even more heavy hitters over at Disney as they bring ESPN to streaming, Disney to streaming in the next couple of years. There's a lot of stuff they're bringing on.
A lot of stuff.
But Disney, I mean, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Deadpool, I mean, you can...
Oh, they got Predator, Aliens.
Yeah, they got,
so many.
Exactly. Like, they can really bring on a lot of stuff now. And, I mean, you're only missing Spider-Man, and there's not much to really integrate that entire Marvel universe together. And Disney does the best. I mean, Deadpool's great, but those X-Men and Fantastic Four movies are not near as good as what Disney has done with the Avengers.
Oh, for sure,
Thor, Iron Man.
I'm sure we'll see a new X-Men come up here soon, I bet you.
I would hope so. With real costumes.
I would hope so.
No leather jackets with silly embroidered
this
X-Men
is the 90s
logos.
Matrix anymore. I want to see
Jim Lee, real 90s X-Men.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Disney Fox, $52.7 billion. It's driving Disney's price up. People like it, and I'm sure we'll be reporting tomorrow on how well Star Wars ended up doing for the weekend.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely.
Yes, we will. Let's move on to the Delta deal with Airbus.
Yeah, that was big news too. Again, news we knew the day before. So Delta Airlines, the deal's for $12.7 billion. But again, when you're buying new planes like this, manufacturers sometimes cut a discount. So this is what the perceived value is. Might be a little cheaper for Delta. They're bringing in 100 Airbus A321neos. That's a lot of mid-size, high-end planes out of Airbus. It was announced on the Investor Day presentation there. There was rumors that it was potentially going to be Boeing and 100 of the 737 Maxes, but I guess because of the Boeing Bombardier C-Series issues with Airbus, where, you know, like Delta bought, I don't remember how many it was, C-Series planes from Bombardier, and they bought them cheap.
Yeah.
They bought them exceptionally cheap, below what the cost it was to make it. And then 300% tariffs were added on top of that if Delta wanted to import them from Canada, because Boeing went to the federal government and said, this isn't fair play. As far as we're concerned, they're going above and beyond what their rights are. They're not allowed to go ahead and do this, right? It's a very small market of people who make airplanes. You kind of have to be paying the right amount, because other airlines and people who purchase planes, they have to pay the fair price as well, right? So Bombardier was looking to move a lot of units. They just needed to turn over some revenue, because Bombardier's C-Series plane is not selling like it was supposed to. So then Airbus came in, and they took controlling stake of just the C-Series program. Not Bombardier as a whole, but the C-Series program. And then Airbus ended up moving the production of the C-Series down to Alabama, a plant that they own in Alabama, which basically circumvents that law where they're doing any importing. Now the plane is being made in America by Americans, paying American tax, and they're hoping to circumvent that tariff.
Yeah.
Delta still expects to take delivery of these planes, and I would imagine Airbus expects to be selling them to Delta.
Yes, for sure.
So we'll see what the government ends up saying at the end of this. And Delta's CEO did come out and say that he expects to still do business in the future with Boeing. And of course, right? Like, Boeing was trying to sell Delta used planes. These C-Series are brand new planes.
Yeah, why would you want used when you can get brand new, right?
But I guess it's because when you're trying to pay the price that Delta paid for those C-Series planes, then you're trying to get the cheap price. You're not willing to pay the amount of money that you're supposed to be paying. Yeah. And that was the case that Boeing made. But Delta's CEO did say they expect to do business with Boeing again in the future. I mean, how could you not? There's really only Bombardier, Airbus, and Boeing out there. I mean,
really,
you're going to be buying planes from one of these guys, right? Like, so Pratt & Whitney's making the engine on these Airbus A321neos. It didn't hurt Boeing at all. I mean, I'm sure it helps Airbus. It helps Delta. I mean, Delta closed the week at $56.10. They were up about $2.50 on the week. But Boeing, that leads the Dow Jones this year in gains. I mean, if you want gains, there's no way. You forget going to GNC. You're getting your gains in Boeing. Boeing is already up on the year 87%. That was on the day of this news. Boeing then went ahead and closed up even higher to end the week at $293.94, up about $8.50 on the week. Good. Not hurting the shareholders of Boeing.
No.
Boeing also greenlit an $18 billion share buyback earlier in the week.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing but money going around at Boeing. These 100 planes for Airbus and the Bombardier deal with the C-Series planes to Delta. It's great that Airbus and Delta have a nice little working arrangement going on.
For sure, yeah.
Boeing's not really being boxed out of the marketplace entirely, though, by this.
Yeah, I don't think they're sweating it.
You know, they got a lot of bravado over there. It's funny when they do any kind of press conferences. They do not seem like they're sweating anything over Boeing.
No, not at all.
So so Delta picks up these 100 Airbuses, $12.7 billion. It bumped up Delta, but it bumped up Boeing as well. Or just the fact that Boeing's doing so well continues to bump up Boeing.
Yeah.
Boeing and Caterpillar just dominating the Dow this year.
Dominating.
That's
good to hear, right?
I mean, hey, why would you be in Bitcoin when you could be in the index?
Exactly.
The index is beautiful.
We have a little bit of Canadian news on Wednesday here. Canadian cell phone plans.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a little bit of a research study that came out. So it turns out they did 6 categories of the highest priced cell phones in the world, cell phone plans in the world. And it turned out two of the categories the United States let in, so telecom companies in the United States let in, and 3 of the categories Canada let in. Now, the 2 that the United States let in were the very low-end pay-as-you-go cell phone plans.
Okay.
which we've heard a lot of problems as far as like, that was the big concern with Sprint and T-Mobile getting together, was there'd be a little bit more price collusion for pay-as-you-go. For people who basically can't afford $100, $65, whatever you want to call it, cell phone plans with data and all that stuff. So the U.S., again, led in 2 of those categories, but Canada led in 3 of the categories in the world for expensive pricing, and it ended up being the really expensive data stuff, the unlimited minutes, unlimited texting, data plans of 5 gigs or more. I mean, it's one of those things. I addressed it in the video. I pay a lot of money. I think the Canadian government basically needs to allow more competition. They've spent their time in the last few years really making sure the lobbyists from the telecom companies up here, Rogers, Bell, TELUS, kind of have their way on Parliament Hill and don't allow anybody else to come in and penetrate the marketplace, when I think it would benefit the customers so significantly to allow an AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or T-Mobile or whoever it ends up being to come in and add some competition and really bring those prices down. Because
I agree.
When you price compare U.S. plans that are similar to Canadian plans, it's a significant price difference.
Oh,
like
for sure.
20+%, So for Canada, which is a small country, 37 million people or whatever, to be leading in 3 of these 6 categories and all on the more expensive plans.
Shouldn't be like that.
It's tough to say you're not kind of getting gouged.
Yeah, for sure.
That was pretty much the gist of the video. There wasn't a whole lot more than the fact that, it seems to be the government can come up with all the statistics or whatever they want, but the fact is it's the government that's not allowing the competition to take place.
That is very true.
They could when there's a spectrum auction, they could let AT&T buy some satellites. Buy the spectrum and come in and do the work here, right? And bring those costs down.
And
allow people to have some competitive pricing. But as of right now, they're going to pass it off as if like, it's not very fair pricing. Well, you kind of have a hand in that. So,
definitely.
there you go. Canada, apparently, it's pretty expensive. I knew I was overpaying.
So did I.
I just didn't realize I was overpaying by so much. So, it's even more. Once I seen the statistics, I had already looked at some American plans just so I could kind of compare, just for my own sake, what the plans were. And I mean, we look into these American companies, these telecom companies so frequently that the price of a lot of stuff because I'm on their websites just perusing things.
Right.
But when you compare similar plans to what I have, to what it costs in the United States, even with the currency conversion, all that stuff, obviously that's all taken into consideration. It's a pretty significant difference.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah.
You look at it, you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Competition competition is key in any marketplace. And when you box out competition, this is what you end up having, is you have basically a couple of companies. I don't want to say they're colluding on prices, but they're not.
You almost think they are.
None of those 3 major telecom providers up here in Canada are stepping on each other's toes to try to cut pricing.
No, they're not.
No.
That's one thing you can notice when you look at prices or plans from any one of those companies.
They're almost all the same. They all basically cut and paste the pricing. It's just a couple of different phones.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a few different smartphones, but the pricing is pretty much standard.
Shady.
Yeah. To be leading in 3 of 6 categories in the world seems a little expensive.
It is,
The cost of living here is already expensive. When the Bank of Canada talks about how much they're worried about, real estate and the economy and all this kind of stuff when they're raising interest rates, that's one of those things that takes a lot of money out of people's pockets. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone has a pretty high-end data plan.
Right.
You live on your phone nowadays. I mean, you live and die through every bit of media you get through your phone. Everything is instant, right? So when you're driving up the costs, or when you're not doing anything about them, then you tell me you're worried about the price of real estate and everything. And so, why aren't you worried about the extra $40 that goes out of my pocket every month?
Right.
What does that account for? Especially when you consider a house with maybe 2 adults and then a teenager or 2 that might also have a cell phone plan.
4 of them there.
You could be looking at $150 extra going out the window every month of the year in every household that has that demographic in it across Canada, all because you don't want to add in competition. So I mean, price of real estate, sure. I mean, at least a house is a tangible asset that gains some equity over time, or you'd hope
Definitely
so.
does, yeah.
You're not getting those. They don't even roll over data on my plan.
No, me either.
No, I just got...
This is the first of the month. If I don't use that data up, it's gone.
I've got like 4 gigs of data left, and my stuff rolls over, I think, in 4 days. I'm just going to turn YouTube on 1080p and let it play for a few nights.
Might as well,
I'm taking that data. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just watch the worst song. It won't matter. I'll just listen
Mariachi music.
Mariachi music in 1080p. Absolutely. I'll use Shazam.
Yeah,
I'll figure out all the best mariachi bands there are.
Okay, well, that wraps up the news for Wednesday the 13th. Moving on to Thursday the 14th. Let's take a look at earnings for Costco.
So Costco had we would know going into it that Costco is already a monster company. Earnings per share of $1.45 beat the street by 11 cents. $31.8 billion in revenue, beat the revenue number by $310 million. Revenue numbers up 13.2% year over year. Comparable store sales up 10.5% across the Costco network, and that's including gas and Forex changes. Membership revenue rose 10%. Comparable store sales in the U.S. up 8.7%. That's excluding gas and Forex changes. Costco was in the high 150s in October. They closed that day on earnings at 186.53. They closed a week at 192.73. So the news just driving Costco higher. Costco's been going up, up, up. We've had good news, store sales. Everything's been great. I mean, we got store sales for November, was that 2 weeks ago that we reported on?
I believe so,
It was marvelous. I mean, this is just goes to show that Costco is not being infringed upon by Amazon or anybody else. Buying in bulk is the way to go. The Kirkland brand is strong. I shop at Costco. You shop at Costco. Yep. I'm a happy Costco membership owner. You know, like that as opposed to the GNC Pro Access, Costco's membership, I'm proud to pay for every year.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
It is so worth it. Everything that they've got, they really streamline their brands to the point where it's just exactly what you need. There's not too much stuff spread around. I mean, Costco's got a great hiring policy. They promote from within. Their employees like working there. It's just a good culture. It's a good company. It's really tough to hate on it. Again, we covered this on the earnings call, though. As far as investing in Costco, I know the price going up still. Price to earnings well over 30. Just if you're going to invest in Costco, just like if you're going to invest in anything, we might as well do the disclaimer. Speak to your licensed professional financial advisor. Due diligence is the key here.
Yeah.
You're a smart investor. I mean, you know what you're trying to do, how you're trying to allocate your portfolio. I'm sure you've got some professionals on your side, or you're somewhat of a professional yourself. You just want to make sure that you're doing everything the right way. Costco's doing an excellent job, excellent company. Is it maybe near the top end of that price? It might be, but with these comparable store sales continuing to go up this significantly, I'm not going to say that it is. I would just say that I would be leery at a price to earnings of 31 plus, right? So just do the due diligence and make sure if that's where you want to put your money, that you feel pretty content with that. I know the market as a whole is just running, right? So it's tough to, right now, any of the big names, like we talked about Boeing, Caterpillar, any of the big names, it's really tough to say like, oh yeah, sink your teeth into it because we are at the top of the economy. And I know Janet Yellen came out and said they don't see any issues with the stock market being overvalued or inflated in price.
Yep.
But I mean, there's got to be a plateau at some point. I hate to be a contrarian. Yeah. I am pro the market doing excellent. I think everything's going well. I love the way the United States is running. Canada's coming back. Jobs are in a great spot. Inflation is lower than they want. GDP's going up. I mean, things are going really well. Obviously, with the raising of interest rates, Canada, United States, everything seems to be working in the right direction, but man, it's only going to take a little bit of a plateau for some of these companies that I hate to say overvalued when we're referencing Costco, but it might just be that where you hit that plateau and companies like this start to get pulled back on just a little bit.
Just hit that wall.
Yeah, price to earnings of 31 is a little out of range for where it normally should be. That's not the historical number that it averages. So a little high, but the market could definitely adjust as things are going up, and you could find that price to earnings number coming back down. So Due diligence. Licensed professional financial advisor for any kind of investing. Speak to a professional. Do your homework. Know what you're doing before you get into it. You work hard for your money.
Yep.
You want to get your money to make as much passive income as you possibly can, but you want to do it for the duration. Is Costco a bad investment long term? I doubt it. But getting in at this price that high, yeah, I would maybe think about a pullback before I decided to jump in. But that's me.
Yeah.
That's just me. Yeah.
We got a little bit more Canadian news. Canadian household debt.
Yeah, record high.
Yes.
Yeah, it's rough. They said that $1.71 of credit market debt, so consumer credit, mortgages, non-mortgage loans, for every dollar of disposable income, it's rough. I mean, that's a lot of money that's on the hook out there for Canadians. $2.11 trillion in debt overall in Canada for the common person, not just for the government. We're not talking the government. We're just talking me and you and everybody like us. So going into the Christmas season, I'm sure a lot of your shopping is probably done at this point. But yeah, it's rough. That's a lot of debt. I mean, I got news. I want to say it was maybe Thursday, but student loan defaults in the United States went up too year over year from 11.3 to 11.5.
Okay.
So it's not a huge number uptick, but you know,
still,
when you start talking about how good the economy is
and
how easy it is to get money right now, for defaults to start going up, that's kind of scary. I mean, at what point in time are we going to start seeing defaults going up at Visa and MasterCard and American Express?
Yep.
Yeah, and that only leads to eventually mortgage defaults. And again, there's got to be a plateauing at some point. There's been a lot of easy money that's been loaned out there.
Yeah.
Canada's coming back. We're coming back, and it looks like we're going to come back really strong as an economy overall throughout the entire nation, not in a specific region, but overall as an entire nation. It looks like things are really making a turnaround from what was a fairly stagnant couple of years in comparison, especially to the United States, which is probably the easiest comparable you're going to make. I would like to think that there's a lot of Canadians out there that look at this number. And I mean, I gave you the example the other day, actually, when we were talking about this. The way you average this out is like for everybody that doesn't have any debt, if you have no debt, you still are a part of this number. You know what I mean? So if you bring in $1 every month for you, but you hold no debt, but somebody else is out there and they're bringing in $1, the same average dollar, their debt has to be significantly higher than that 171 to bring that number to 171.
Yes, that's correct.
So for everybody whose debt is only 80 cents in their household, they're having to bring that number. That number is being brought up by people that are well into the $250 per every dollar of disposable income that they make. So there are people that are way out to lunch as far as debt goes.
Yeah.
If you're in Canada and you're making good money right now, the job pool's getting better. I know interest rates are going up, but they're not near up as much as they could be. This would be the time to start worrying about getting that debt down.
Yeah.
Honestly, like you really need to go ahead and start doing some work on bringing that debt down. If it's in your household, don't worry about people as a whole. Don't worry about anybody else. Worry about yourself. Think about how you can do this for your household, because the less debt you carry, I mean, you obviously want to get that to zero. You don't want to be carrying any debt around, because that's going to allow you to then invest money. And I would imagine there's a lot of people that are listening to this that are, fairly well off. You've done okay for yourself. You're probably not in a significant amount of debt if we're talking about you potentially investing in Costco or whatever it happens to be. You're probably a much more frugal type of a spender. That's usually how you get into a position to be doing investing to begin with. You're probably not out there investing in stuff, but holding, hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit debt. I would hate to think that. You're doing that the wrong way, because you're never going to make that 26 or 28% or whatever your interest rate is, right? Like maybe this year, like if you're in Bitcoin or whatever. But in an economy that's going up, my recommendation is to focus fire on that debt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good debt, I don't know what you'd like to call experts out there that know how to do this, the guys that are on YouTube that write books. You can get these books, audio books. I mean, if you're sitting around in your car, you've got a little time, I'd listen to our podcast first, listen to our videos first, and when you're done that, get into making sure that you're focused firing on your debt and you're getting that down. Get a plan together with you and your significant other, or you and by yourself, whatever it is, and make sure that you are planning for the future. Canadians are smart. We know what we're doing, but we are getting a little out of hand with the debt.
Yeah, we
and
are.
that
Yeah,
is
we
a
are.
scary number because, like we said, for the $1.71 per dollar, for everybody that's at 50 cents only per dollar, there's a lot of people well over $2 to bring that number back up there.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like when you talk about the averaging, there's a lot of people with way too much debt.
Way too much.
If you're in the $2 range for every dollar you make, man, you got a long road to come back. And don't let that dissuade you. Don't let that get you off track or get you too nervous. Or
start handling it now.
Handle it.
Yeah.
Handle it. Absolutely.
It will get out of hand.
Don't get anxious. Don't think that it's insurmountable. Handle it.
Yes.
You know, get it all in order. Find out what all your expenses are, where all your debt is. Find out what the higher interest rate stuff is, and start focus firing on that stuff and get smarter with your spending.
Yeah,
there's people out there that are clearly being pretty frivolous as far as throwing money around. Yeah, don't want that.
No, definitely don't want that. We have a story, a big one that affects everybody down south from us. Net neutrality.
Yeah, okay, so we did a video on this. So I don't know if anybody knows. I mean, go to the video. That breaks it down a lot more. Basically, net neutrality is the fact that internet service providers, which is basically the people that send you your internet, Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, Time Warner, down in the United States, those are the big ones. They used to not be able to discriminate or charge differently by users, content, website, platform, application, type of attached equipment, or the method of communication that was involved. The Federal Communications Commission basically took a hands-off approach this week, despite the fact that Congress and a bunch of advocates, the people basically in general, all said they do not want this to go through. They overturned net neutrality 3-2. So basically, these internet service providers have the right to throttle or block content if they want. I mean, if they're not making any money off of YouTube or Netflix, which none of them would be. I mean, you sign up for, if they don't own it, AT&T doesn't own Netflix. They own their own AT&T stuff. They want you to be watching that, the cable packages
like
that
a
they
lot of
provide.
people now will just get internet and then they'll stream something instead of actually getting cable and watching whatever they provide.
I don't have cable.
Neither do I.
I haven't had cable in
internet.
3 years.
Yeah.
I have the internet. I watch YouTube, which there's more people go to YouTube than watch every cable provider's stuff in a day.
For sure.
You know, like, and I mean, we're talking YouTube internationally. More people are on YouTube, but anything you want is there. And I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody to go do things that are against the law, but you can go download anything you want. I mean, if you really want to go that route, it's not too difficult to find a live stream of something or, I mean, that's all available. Let's not pretend like it's not. Right? I'm not going to sit here and not talk about it and pretend like it's not available when you know every hip teenager or 20-something, every millennial knows how to get the football game without owning the NFL package. You know what I mean? Like, that just is what it is. So they're basically going to allow these companies to block or throttle whatever they want to do. And it's going to be the stuff that they don't make the money on. So it's going to be Netflix, YouTube. It's going to be that stuff. And we've already had a case of Verizon back in July. They were found to be throttling Netflix and YouTube. You know, like they were found out to be doing that in some of their areas. And Verizon came back and said, you know, like it was bugs. We were working on bugs. But very conveniently, it was bugs with the type of stuff that they don't make any money on.
Exactly.
Because you pay a flat fee for data from your internet service provider. But I mean, if you're a household like my parents, let's say, for example, you're probably more of a Facebook user. You know, like you're going to take a look at the internet for news. You're going to go onto Yahoo or something and click on some news, but you're not going to really sit on YouTube for 8 hours a day and watch stuff in 1080p constantly, which drives up that data considerably for the provider. Well, too bad. You provide that for a flat fee. That's the way it works. It's not our fault that all these other mediums have come in recent years that deliver what ostensibly is better content.
Way better.
I enjoy YouTube more than I enjoy cable.
For sure.
I like people like me and you. I like to see original content people go out and make stuff that's engaging and funny and interesting. Like, I watch all sorts of stuff on YouTube about history. I watch guys that do like medical stuff. Like, as if you were in medical school.
For sure.
Like, you know, like break down. I was watching a thing yesterday that was like an hour long. My wife's like, what are you going to medical school? It's about the adrenal gland and how the adrenal gland works. And they were breaking down all the different parts of the adrenal gland. And it was just, to me, it's interesting.
Very interesting.
But I'm not going to the University of Alberta to medical school.
Right.
I'm just sitting there going like, I'd really like to know how this works.
Yeah.
And I click on YouTube, and lo and behold, some well-educated man who knows what he's talking about is sitting there drawing it out in layman's terms for, some dummy like me, and it's perfect. It's like going to school, but, like I'm not expecting to be a doctor or work. I'm not going to go out and do back alley adrenal gland surgery. Don't get me wrong, but I like the way it works, and you can go on YouTube and find anything from original content.
You can't turn on the TV and find informative videos like that.
Why do you think
cable?
Why do you think we do this channel? Right. Turn on BNN, turn on CNBC, turn on Bloomberg. It's a bunch of interchangeable talking heads that say the same thing. They're in the same suit, buttoned up to their throat. It's boring. It's redundant. They use the same big jargon that box people out that aren't informed. And when you go to YouTube, you can go and hear another common man like yourself who seems like this would be a guy maybe you'd sit across a bar table with and just sit around and BS with the guy and say I like this guy. I like his opinions. I like his style, whatever it happens to be. And I mean, that's why we do this.
Exactly.
I find the financial news markets and the financial news media to be too stuffy and boring. And I know I've been watching them for 15 years. And other than the occasional person that really stimulate, like I like Squawk Box. I like the guys in the morning. I like Steve Kernan. It's good stuff. I like Jim Cramer. There are some people who have bravado, but these guys also came from running major funds and stuff. If you didn't make $100 million in a year there's no chance you're going to get one of these jobs. You're not going to have an opinion that's validatable, which is unfortunate because I bet you there's people out there, I'd like to think myself, that have really validatable opinions, but they don't have a chance to actually voice those opinions on any kind of major scale because I didn't come from some Ivy League school. That's just not the way it worked. But I'd like to I'll put my education to the test against any one of them. Bring it on. And I think I'm a little more engaging than you are. And I'd like to think that a lot of my audience can see that the same way. So this net neutrality, and like I said, like AT&T, Comcast, all these guys, we'll find a way around them. If people want to throttle our stuff, I'll go through every medium possible, Twitter, Reddit, we'll go on Daily Motion. We'll find a way to get these people to get to our content. But for a lot of other content providers who might not be as aggressive or might not realize this is happening, let's say you've got a video game channel, which people love.
Oh, people love those,
You might not be as in tune with what's going on in the government like we are because we kind of do this. And you might find that your viewership starts going down considerably because these companies are playing chess behind your back, trying to proactively steer people to watch their content instead of somebody else's content because it costs them more money in the long run. Well, too bad. Maybe make better content.
Oh, exactly.
Get out of the content business. Just be an internet service provider.
Exactly.
The content is king. So, and like I said to the people, if you notice people doing this, go to your congressman, go to whoever represents you to go take this to government and say, I think we're being taken advantage of. I think the FCC overstepped their bounds. I think this was put in not too long ago, four years ago. And when Congress says they don't want this to happen, and you still go ahead and do it, you're kind of in the pocket of these people. This is a lot like the cell phone conversation. And this makes me think that maybe Time Warner and AT&T shouldn't get the Department of Justice to pass their merger. Because these guys, if they start taking, and I'm not saying they will.
No,
they just have the option now. They have the option now. And there's a lot of channels on YouTube or shows on Netflix that might suffer because you start to deal with a lot of buffering and you don't know why. You start thinking like, maybe it's just my computer, maybe it's my router.
Maybe could I reset my router?
And you start fiddling around, wasting your time. And eventually you're just like, forget it. And you just throw on the local news and now if everybody starts doing that,
settle for watching.
You have to settle for things. And that's not fair.
No, that is not
That's fair. The part that I think is the biggest issue. These internet service providers are basically going to be working on the honor system. And that's a little sad. Net neutrality. What are you going to do?
Yeah, no doubt. I'd say everybody should get a speed tester, and if you start getting buffering, just start speed testing your stuff. And then
Yeah, exactly. But again, there's a lot of people who are naive. They don't know how to do that. And I mean, people, I mean, you obviously need to educate yourself on this. But, you know, like my kids, they're young. They watch stuff on YouTube, especially my one kid. He watches all these channels where like these like parents with their kids build toys or like make crafts and all this stuff. He's not going to understand if things just don't work. They're not going to work. And he's eventually going to move on to watching something else. Yeah. And if I'm not there, I can assure you that my wife is not as... she's not as hip to the bureaucracy that's going on, and she'll just move on as well. And they'll just start clicking on something else that's easier to get to. And, you know, I mean, that's why cable's dying.
Oh, it definitely is.
Absolutely. It's all going to go to these streaming services. And, you know, like until these companies decide to get on board, people are going to have to find a workaround because I'm not saying these companies are going to go ahead and do this, but... You know, like they definitely now have the option again to go ahead and do this.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, which isn't fair to the public.
No, it isn't. No.
It's a free market, right? You pay for your internet, you should be able to get whatever that's provided.
Oh, for sure.
As long as it's legal. Not saying live streaming sports or any of that.
But
I'm okay with that. If they're out there, you know, I think Comcast a few years ago was caught throttling like BitTorrent, putting out like false packets and stuff. Oh, yeah. That's a little different. Yeah. You're out there, that's illegal, right? Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, that's illegal. That I understand, but throttling Netflix or YouTube, keep your hands off.
Exactly.
Right?
People pay for that.
You're providing the internet. Yeah. Other than that, mind your own business.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with that, yeah. Well, that wraps up the news for Thursday the 14th. We didn't have any other news.
Dow Jones and S&P hit all-time highs.
That's it,
to close the week. Bitcoin was at 17.5 on Friday. Bitcoin is around 20 grand today. Around 20. Up 27% on the week. Wait. Ether, though, is up 62% on the week. Litecoin up 113% on the week.
What?
Cryptocurrencies. That's where the money is. Don't be invested in Costco.
No.
Just get all your money in cryptocurrencies. So... I guess this closes out basically what we're going to talk about. So again, tax reform rundown is going to come up, if not tomorrow, Tuesday, but I'd like to think tomorrow, get a nice thorough rundown of that. Probably going to be a 10 or 15 minute long video. There's a whole lot of stuff to break down. I really want to give people the nice gist of what happened. So you're not out there reading all the text. I want to, speak to you, talk to you a little bit and not have to do it through the boring news channel a little bit. I'll throw some sunglasses on. We'll have a little chit chat about tax reform, talk about how it affects a lot of these corporations, talk about how it changed your tax brackets. Tax brackets got knocked down quite a bit. So there's some people getting some good benefit off of this. Much like last week, I got a couple of earnings from last week that we never covered. Adobe Systems, $1.26, beat the street by 10 cents. Revenue's up 25% year over year. Oracle earnings per share 70 cents was in line with the street. Revenues up 6.2% year over year. And retail sales in November continue to climb. Retail looking good going into Christmas. Retail sales up 0.8% year over year, and that beat the estimate of 0.3% year over year. So retail sales going into Christmas looks like it's going to be quite strong. We've got earnings next week. You thought earnings season was over. It is not. Earnings next week. Darden Restaurants, FedEx, Micron, General Mills, BlackBerry up here in Canada.
Yes.
Remember BlackBerry?
Still make those?
Sweet phone. They don't do phones much anymore, but like they've got a lot of technology that they license out.
Yeah.
BlackBerry's kind of become like a licensing company a lot more than they've become like an actual smartphone maker.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very interesting because BlackBerry is still out there licensing stuff. It's a company it's trying to change the way the company looks. They've been doing it for a couple of years now. They had that new CEO, the guy that bought BlackBerry a couple of years ago, step in. They're turning the corner. Like they're really trying to make this a company that's a lot more about the proprietary stuff that they build as opposed to the actual smartphone device itself.
All right, okay.
And I mean, when you look back, the reason why BlackBerry was so big was because like governments and stuff used BlackBerries.
Everybody used BlackBerry.
Well, but governments did because their security features on BlackBerries were so much more secure than iPhones or anything. Like light years more secure.
Oh, okay.
So they still hold all those trademarks, patents, right? Like they know what they're doing at BlackBerry. They just weren't making the greatest phone.
No.
The phone wasn't able to
I had one, and that ball in the middle of it kept breaking. I hated that.
I dropped one in a toilet. I had my BlackBerry in my hand, and I was texting someone, and I was using the facilities, and I dropped it in the toilet. And I wasn't about to flush the toilet and jam up my pipe with a BlackBerry. Like, I mean, those things are half the size of a shoebox back there. And I had a serious high score on Brick Breaker on there. So I wasn't about to lose that if I could. I took this BlackBerry out of the toilet with a glove on, I'll say, and I took it out of the toilet. I let it dry, and that BlackBerry worked for 6 more months.
Wow.
Yeah, it had a funny smell.
Every time you put it up to your face,
this
stinks.
Strange ammonia smell. So yeah, earnings per share next week from BlackBerry. Winnebago, again, another company that we might see some decent earnings out of. The economy's been doing good. People start spending money on stuff. We know motorcycle sales are down. Maybe the people have been spending their money on RVs.
Maybe people are getting smarter, not buying motorcycles.
Death machine.
Death machine.
Oh my God. I'd like to think people are getting smarter. Did you see the post I had on Facebook yesterday? A buddy of mine posted a picture of a motorcycle on there, and he was like, look how sweet this motorcycle is. And I posted a comment with a picture of an electric chair. And I said, I prefer this death machine. At least you know what day you can say goodbye to your family.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
So Nike next week and Rite Aid.
Right on.
So competitor there with CVS, Rite Aid coming on Nike. So, I mean, there's some big earnings next week. That is it. That's what I've got. That's
all she wrote.
That's the news, man. We went an hour and 10 minutes.
Longest one yet.
That's a long one. I thought it was a short week, but
it was a short week for news, but we covered it all, though.
Net neutrality and the Fed meetings, and there's
a few of them that went on.
Disney. There was a few things that had a couple conferences. My Diet Coke has gone significantly cold.
You've had that for a while now.
Or warm or whatever. It's getting colder in here. I had this open for a while. That's it. That's it.
That wraps up
Wall Street Breakdown. I'm Cody.
I'm Anthony.
That was number 9.
Number 9.
We're doing a heck of a job.
Not too bad.
If we both survive Christmas, no, not even Christmas. It'll be Christmas Eve next week. When we do this.
That's right.
Christmas Eve. I'm coming. I'm going to do Christmas Eve. That doesn't matter to me. I'm coming to do episode 10. We'll cover all these earnings. Like I said, we're gonna knock out some serious videos this week.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
We thank everybody for joining us again. Wall Street Breakdowns podcast number 9. We hope you had an excellent week going into the Christmas season. We hope everybody's out there spending time with your family, being smart about your spending. $1.71 to $1 up here in Canada for debt. Please make sure you're being smart about your spending and drive very, very safe. A lot of people on the roads that time of year. I don't know where you live, but potentially a lot of ice, snow. You never know what it could be. A lot of people out there, people in a rush. Please be safe, be healthy, have a good lead up to Christmas, and we will see you again tomorrow with news, Star Wars news for sure. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Have yourself an excellent rest of your night.